Hey guys, welcome back to Whispers from Beyond. It's been a couple weeks since I posted anything. Some things have been going on, been busy, and I'm back. Hopefully, be a little more consistent. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Today, I'm going to talk about Robert the Doll. He is one of my favorite haunted dolls. He's supposedly the most haunted doll in the world. I know that's just based off an opinion, but I think it's. I really like. I really like the whole story behind him. I like going and seeing him. I've probably seen Robert now. It's been over a dozen times. I go pretty frequently. I always say hi to him when I'm there. Anytime I'm down in the Florida Keys, I take a visit and I say hi to him and talk to him a little bit. I don't disrespect him. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the information on him, but you don't want to disrespect. Before I get into the episode, I'll give you like a little rundown of the history on Robert the Doll. Just some things that I remember from going on the tours and speaking with the staff and the doll's keeper. His name is David Sloan. He taught me a lot about Robert and the story. And of course, you can go and check out. There's a Robert the Doll special on Discovery Plus. If you don't have Discovery Plus, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube or somewhere out there. Someone's got it. But it's very interesting. It's a little bit long. It's like 2 hours, but it's just a little history of him. Tells you about him. There's people who have been to see him and supposedly got cursed. Things like that. Can be some scary stuff. But the real history of the doll is it's a handmade doll, and it was made in the early 20th century. I don't know if I am saying it right, but the Steiff Toy Company, I might be wrong, don't hate me, but the doll was purchased for Robert Eugene Otto by his grandfather in Germany in 1904 from that toy company. Otto named the doll Robert because he became very attached to it, and his name was Robert, so it made sense. He was his favorite toy, so he named it after himself. I know his family had built a room in the attic of their house in Key West, and they had like custom toys for this doll, furniture. He had his own room. Then things started happening around the house, and Otto, the live version of Robert, he things started happening. Dishes started getting broke. There was a fire, things like that. He started getting in trouble from his parents from that, and he started blaming Robert, saying Robert was the one doing it. So it's a little creepy. The doll became associated really with a lot of negativity in Otto's life and his family. It was illnesses. I believe a little girl died somewhere in that family, or it might have been the maid. I don't think I go back and research. I should have researched before doing this, but I just wanted to jump on and make a quick episode for you guys. But legend has it, voodoo was involved in this doll's creation. I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't really think there's much voodoo going on over in Germany. But, a lot of visitors who go see Robert, in the presence, they have said that he changes his expressions. Sometimes you hear giggling sounds. He can move his facial features, smile, frown. Anytime I've ever been there, I've never seen any of that. I've taken hundreds of photos and video, and a lot of the videos kind of like glitches out, like the video is perfectly still, but the doll will kind of like, it's almost like a glitch, like a, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a static glitch. I'll post one to the social and you guys can see it. Some of the pictures that I've taken too, I've remained perfectly still, and I've even used tripods, and sometimes his face is blurry, which is a little weird. I've actually just talked to someone too that they took they took a picture of Robert, they took a selfie, and their faces were blurred out, and the person I talked to was their friends that took the picture, and her husband passed away. So, I mean, it's a little creepy. I know Ozzy supposedly got cursed by Robert. He was at the fort, and he disrespected Robert, gave him the finger, told him "fuck you," whatever he did, and then he flipped an ATV like a week later, and I don't know if he broke his neck, but he got really hurt, and I remember he was in the hospital. I know he got some kind of illness too right after all that, and it's a little weird. So I will say, Robert, he actually resides in a Civil War fort down in Key West. It's called Fort East Martello Museum. Again, it's in Key West, Florida. You can Google it, look it up, find the directions, go if you're anywhere close to there, or if you visit there ever. But again, back to the legend, visitors come, they see Robert, and some people act a fool, and they supposedly get cursed, and they report having his presence follow them when he leaves the museum, or when they leave the museum. So it's like, it's whether you believe it or not. I do believe in all that stuff, so I'm not going to ever go and disrespect him. Again, it's not that I don't totally believe in curses, but I also don't have a reason to believe that they don't exist. So the fact that I don't know for sure, I'm not fucking around with that. But yeah, Robert he's a very interesting attraction to go see. That fort that he's in, again, it was like a Confederate fort in the Civil War. I believe the Navy and the Army used it also during World War II, and there was some training and everything in there. Now it's just a museum. There's a couple different exhibits. Robert being the main attraction. There's an artist that made like a junkyard collection, and you can go see that stuff down there as well. There's also the ghosts of the fort, because Civil War, a lot of people died. Back then, people died of all kinds of illnesses, and it wasn't necessarily gunshots and wounds from the war, but yellow fever, the flu, everything's killed you back then. So it's crazy. So getting into the story. So Robert the doll, my daughter and I, the very first time, I told my daughter, she's 16, I said, "Hey, you want to go see this haunted doll?" She was game. We went to the fort. It was it's a whole tour. So we got you can also get VIP. So because it was our first time, we got the VIP. Basically, that allows you to, after the tour is over, you get an additional hour all by yourselves. So, like, we got to roam the fort all by ourselves. They give you these flashlights. They give you a couple of spirit boxes. They just give you a bunch of equipment that you can use to, find things. So when we get to the fort, we park. We run up to the wall. We didn't run, but we went up to the door, and that's where I met David Sloan the first time. he checked us in, and we were just talking. Hey, where are you guys from, etc., etc. And I'm all tatted up. My arms are totally sleeved, and he started talking to me about my tattoo. So like we just had a little small talk, and then the other people showed up. There was probably a dozen people on the tour. We started the tour, and he takes you around the fort, tells you some history. First hallway we go down, it was just supposedly where there were some people getting killed, prisoners, things like that, getting killed. And that had a really eerie feel to it. Uh, you felt it. You can smell vinegar and stuff. And I know back in the Civil War days, they used vinegar for a lot of things. And you smelled it in the air still, which was a little weird. And, a lot of people thought like they got vinegar around here or something. But David basically said this is all you're smelling, the supernatural part of the tour. So I don't know. I believe that I had faith in it. We get through that first hallway. Where it gets creepy on this tour is the next room. It was kind of a smaller room. There's all kinds of pictures and these like metal sculptures that in general looked weird and creepy. So those were a little spooky for people. But we all jammed into this little room, and it had these cameras. And they were like infrared cameras, night vision nanny cam type camera. And we all piled into this room, and there was a hallway that was totally pitch black, and he wanted someone to, he asked for a volunteer to go down, and we had to ask the ghosts of the fort if we were allowed to pass. And the hallway actually was the area where they piled up bodies for cremations of people who passed away. So David informed, he gave us a little bit of brief history, and I'm not going to say I'm not the tour guide. If you guys want to go on the tour, go down and check it out. But I'm just going to tell you the interesting parts. So that hallway, he wanted a volunteer to go down there with a spirit box and ask questions and see if we got an answer. So he asked for a volunteer. No one volunteered. And then he said, how about you, the big guy with the tattoos? I said, sure, I'll go down. So I walked down this hallway. I'm doing it slowly, though, because it's pitch black. And the hallway is not that tall. And I'm a taller guy, so I didn't want to crack my head off of something and get a concussion or cut or whatever. You literally couldn't see. So I get down to the end. And down at the end, there was just like a little red light. So I had some light down there, and I started asking the questions. He wanted me to ask if we were allowed to pass, and to tell the ghosts of the fort that we had whiskey and cigars to give them. And I didn't hear anything on the spirit box. I was holding it. I was asking the questions. I didn't hear anything. So then I felt something on my left leg because I was facing the group. I felt something on my left leg, and it was like I got really itchy, and it kind of felt like something like crawled onto my leg. Like I thought it was a spider, or I seen a rat when I was there. So like it's the fort is got holes in the wall to the outside, so like bugs and creatures and things can get in there. But I felt something hit my leg, and it was like not really hit, but like I just felt like imagine if someone took their fingertips and just like rubbed your leg really gently, just like the fingertips, the soft part. And I didn't think anything of it. So I walked away. He calls me back up the hallway. I go back up the hallway, and next thing you know, he's like, did you hear anything on the spirit box? I said, no. And he's like, did you hear anything, experience anything? I said, no. I said, the only thing I experienced, I said, I got really, really itchy. And I said, I felt something on my leg. And it felt like something, like kind of like brushed up against it, touched my leg with like fingertips. And the 12 people on the tour, all their faces, just like, their faces just dropped. And they all looked scared. And I'm sitting there like, what in the hell? Like, what's going on? So 2 people on the tour, it was either 2 or 3, they up and left. Like, they totally left the tour. And my daughter stayed back in the room when I went down the hallway. So I like went up to my daughter and I'm like, hey, what did I say? Like, these people looked like they all got scared. And she goes, when you said that you had something on your leg itchy, she was like, you were on the nanny cam and the infrared cam, and she said some shadow looking creature, like looked like almost like a shadow dog, came up to you and it reached its arm out and touched your leg. And that right there just instantly gave me goosebumps, because I felt it. I know what I felt. And I wish I could have really got like a video, like a copy of that video. But they said they don't do that. But he did have pictures of like these shadow creatures that roam the fort. And David informed the group that there were 3 shadow creatures that roam that fort. And they were getting more and more active as time went by. But supposedly I encountered one. I definitely felt it. I don't know, something that was very, I don't want to say I was like terrified, but like it gave me goosebumps, and I felt kind of like, this is going to sound weird, but I felt kind of like awesome. I was like, why'd this thing come to me? Like, is it trying to attach to me? Is it just trying to communicate? Like, I felt almost like privileged for it to happen. I know I'm weird. A lot of people think I'm weird, but anyway. So then we got on this hallway to pass. David talked a little bit more about the shadow creatures and whatnot. They roam, and he did say that some people have been scratched by them. He had pictures, but again, a lot of people will say that's photoshopped or edited or whatever. But we walk through this hallway. There's 3 parts of this fort. I'll tell you that. There's maybe 4 parts. There is that part where we're just in, where it was like, it's like a medical area. It had like a crematory at one point. It was more of like I want to say like a citadel. Then there was a courtyard. There was a large field used for probably like training back in the Civil War days. The courtyard could have been used for like training and drills and stuff too. And then there was like another medical building, and that had like a tower in it that you can walk up. You can only walk up that tower on the VIP tour, by the way. But so we walk out into this like courtyard area, and it's open air. Like, you walk out and the fort is surrounding you, but you can see the sky, you can see the moon, the stars, etc. So we walk out in this area, and he tells us about, there is a cat, like a ghost cat that roams the courtyard, and I thought that was a little interesting. We didn't see it that night or anything, but it was interesting. Then in the courtyard there is it's like a very small house. Like, it's almost like an oversized dollhouse. And that was a little creepy because it's like soldiers were here. Why is this small dollhouse in the middle of the courtyard? And inside of this dollhouse were other little dolls. There was like a real small piano. It was just weird. But we walked through the courtyard. He said there wasn't really much to see, and we started making our way to the medical part, the medical facility of this fort. And when you're looking at the windows of the building, your eyes play trick. Well, I think your eyes are playing tricks unless you're really seeing something, but you think you see things in there, and like you see shadows, and there's no lights on, but if you flash your flashlights up, like I swear you see stuff. But anyway, we get to this medical building, and he takes us in. He takes us in this door, and this is the area where he said another one of these shadow creatures likes to scratch people, or if you wear a crucifix or a cross on your like a necklace or anything, people have been burned. So I was like waiting for that to happen. I don't wear crosses or anything, but like I was waiting for that to happen to someone. But nothing did. But when we were in there, you can hear some creepy noises and things. I know, when you think about anything medical, when you think of a hospital, people die in hospitals, and if it's a Civil War hospital, people are definitely dying in there. Wounds, again, like I said, yellow fever, things like that. So I started to get really like out of breath just standing there. And I told David this. I said, hey, the air in here is like really, really thick. Like I feel like I'm out of breath. And he said a lot of people actually report that because these spirits and ghosts want to show you how they died and show you what happened. And if someone died, let's say in a fire, you're not going to be able to breathe in a fire because of the smoke. So when you pass through these spirits, as he said, when you pass through them, you feel how they died. And I was definitely feeling that. A couple other people on the tour said they were too, but I felt like the breathing, and I also felt really, really itchy again. So when I felt itchy, I thought like these damn shadow creatures were coming. We didn't have any cameras or anything on us, so maybe they were there and I just didn't know. But we walked around the rooms of that. There wasn't upstairs to the hospital, but again, that was the VIP. When we were on the VIP, there wasn't really much up there. It was a bunch of these like junkyard art sculptures made of like junk metal, but it was weird because they had like axes in their hands and weapons, and one of them was a female metal character, and it had breasts. Like it was real weird. Anyhow, so we go down. We did find a snake that night. Actually, I found a snake in the fort, but again, that's not a ghost or anything. So we leave the hospital, and then we go to that large field, and in the large field, he said that this is like where the enemies would have tried to enter the fort, and people were there with like Gatling guns, and I don't even know if those guns existed back then. I'm not a history buff, but someone sat there with a gun watching the door, shooting these people. So like hundreds and thousands of people were dying, and you felt that like you really felt that. But then we moved past that area, and we moved back into the Citadel. And this is where Robert, you can see Robert, but he's covered up. He's in this glass case that's sealed and locked, and they have this like black drape over him, and these like purple and green lights. So it just sets the tone, sets the atmosphere, and there's chairs all around them, and we walk in there. We learn about a little bit more of the Civil War history right before Robert, but you could see him. And I was just like locked on. Like I just wanted to go see him. So we learn about this little history in this next hallway. There was pianos and a lot of Civil War relics and things like that. Again, you get real itchy. Took a couple pictures around the fort, by the way, in these hallways and stuff. I have a bunch of pictures that have orbs on them. I know a lot of people don't believe in there because you can't like really prove if it's an orb or anything like that. But like, it was very interesting because some pictures come out just plain, and some pictures there's what looks to be like orbs all over. I have one picture in particular that I felt really itchy on my leg again, and I took a picture of my leg, and it looked like there were 50 orbs just floating right around my leg, which is crazy. Again, that's something in opinions and whatnot. You guys can believe what you want, or you can think I'm bullshit, but I know what I believe. So then we get into we move on through this fort again, and we get to the Robert Dahl area. And we all, David Sloan asks us to have a seat. We all do. And then he turns on this like movie projector, and we watch this movie. And it goes over the history of Robert Dahl. Basically, what I told you at the beginning of this episode. It goes over the history and tells you things. And then at the end of the movie, it's probably like 15 minutes long, somewhere around there. At the end of the movie, he pulls the black drape. It's real dramatic, but he pulls the black drape, and there's Robert. And like as soon as you see him, you just get this feeling like wow, this is some spooky shit right here. You just feel it. You can feel the energy. You can feel, I don't want to say pain, but you can feel something bad. And that's when you start to think I hope I don't fucking piss this thing off. But it's definitely interesting. So while you're sitting, you're still sitting in these seats, he starts talking about Robert and the curses, and they talk about people that they have seen get cursed. There's all kinds of people who have been cursed, and believe it or not, you can actually send Robert a letter, and he receives thousands of letters a year from people who claim or feel like he cursed them, and he asks for forgiveness. Or you send them a letter and you ask for forgiveness. And I know some people send candy with it. Some people just send the letters. But you gotta think it's weird that someone goes as far as thinking that the doll cursed them to send them a letter, which, it's creepy in its own. But as we're sitting there, we have these little ghost EMP things, and that thing starts lighting up on some people's units, and it's like wow, that's pretty cool. And he also places a spirit box on top of the case, and he placed a ball, and he asks Robert, is there anyone in the room that you dislike? Can you show us a sign? Before you know it, that ball rolls off the case. And I thought, that's bullshit. Like, the wind blew it. They have it overinflated. No. The ball is half deflated. So, like, it doesn't even have enough air in it to roll. It is instantly spooky. And then people worry, like, which one of us does this dawn on? Like, I feel like it was probably my daughter. I'm just assuming. I'm just going to say that. Yeah, you have this sensation that, is it just me, or does everyone feel like this? I don't know. It's just really, it's just unknown, and I think that's what interests me is uh, the complexity of it all. Is you don't know exactly what to believe because you can't prove that something is real or something is not real. So it's like, yeah, that's just it's a little strange. Again, I think that's the job of the tour to do those things. But I will say, I recommend going to see Robert. It's in Key West. So, if you're ever down in the Florida Keys, make sure you look it up, Google it, and you'll be able to go on your own tour. The VIP, was it worth it? I don't know. I think it was for someone like myself, but the average person, I don't think it was worth it. But the actual tour itself, make sure you do it. Like I said, I've been to see Robert now over a dozen times, and every time I'm in the Keys, I'm going to go. Just it's how I feel. I like going there. It's been different every time. I was there once when a woman on the tour got scratched by something in that fort, and it was right around Robert the Doll. I don't know if she was like disrespecting him or if it was something else, but at the beginning of the tour, she was one of the people who said she doesn't believe in this stuff, and then she was complaining about being scratched, and she had scratch marks on her, so it was very intense, very scary. But she ended up leaving, and I don't know what happened to her after that, of course, but she probably never came back. She was probably scared to death. But it's definitely something to check out if you're interested in something spooky. And why would if you're interested in those things, why wouldn't you want to see the most haunted doll in the world? It's definitely worth it. But not only is that, but like you're in paradise. You got the beach, you got all kinds of different things to do in the Keys. I mean, some of the best fishing in the world. If you're a drinker, there's bars everywhere down in Key West and Duval Street. So it's definitely something to do. I have other stories that people have shared with me about Robert the Doll. I'll go over one real quick. But if you have ever experienced Robert the Doll yourself, please contact me. I want to hear your story. I want to make more episodes about Robert and share different, images and videos of what I've seen in these encounters, orbs, things like that. I always feel strange every time, so it's definitely not a fluke. But this other experience that I heard from someone was a woman and her husband that I know, and they've become friends of mine since getting to know them and everything. I won't give out names or anything, but their experience was, they went to Robert the Doll, and they were on. I don't know how many times they've been there, but it wasn't the first time when I met them. It wasn't the first time they were on this tour. But anyway, I was talking to them, and this woman said that her and her husband thought Robert the doll was bullshit, was fake, and so they took pictures, they took selfies with him, which that's I don't think that's the problem. Uh, but they disrespected him. They were making fun of him, and they told me that afterwards, and it was like pretty much immediately, like on the way home or on the way back to their hotel, wherever they were staying, because they don't let they're not native to the Florida Keys. Uh, I won't give out where they live, but they don't live in the Keys. But on the that wherever they were staying on the way back from their very first encounter when they disrespected him, they got hit by a deer, and it was a key deer. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. A key deer is just a very, very small version of a deer. They don't get big down there, and they're actually protected. But one ran across the road, and they hit it. So that was like the first bad luck. You think, people hit animals all the time. So they hit this deer, did some damage to their rental car. Uh, then that night, I guess they both got very sick. You can account that to, did they eat bad food? Did they get some kind of stomach virus, etc.? But they got very sick right away after Robert, and they were fine at Robert. Then when they go back home, the woman was pregnant, and she actually had a miscarriage. And again, those things happen. No one wants to see that happen. No one wants to hear about that happening. But they now they now blame Robert for that. Her husband lost his job. He had this job for like 25 years, and he lost his job. He was the main breadwinner, so like their finances ended up being real bad. They had to sell their house. They had to move to a different house. Those are things that are all, those are life-changing events and bad. And they all blame Robert. And it was all just over some disrespect. They basically said that they were there looking at him and said, "You look stupid," blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's definitely got some scary situation. I don't know. I just thought, again, like I said, it's not that I believe in curses, but I don't not believe in curses either. So there's no proof that they exist or don't exist. So I'm not going to take that chance and curse myself. The couple that I'm talking about, they actually did write a letter to Robert, and they sent some candy. And they, you don't get a response back, of course, but after they wrote this letter, they're basically their lives started getting better. And you think, when you're down and you're at some of the lowest points in your life, the only real, like you think about the only real way you can go is back up. That's not always true. So, it could be that way. It could be Robert. It could just be life. No one really truly knows. But if you guys do go to Robert, and I've heard countless other stories. That's just one example. I'll do a whole nother episode with some people because I am going to interview someone that I know who has been there and had a little spooky encounter. I'm going to interview them, and we'll do this podcast together, and we'll bring that to you guys and try to get it going. But if you do ever go, I'm not going to warn you because you can do what you want. I'm not telling you what to do. But I just suggest that you don't do anything disrespectful to the doll or the fort. Like, who knows if it's the fort? Who knows if it's the doll? Nobody knows. But do some research. Do your own research. A lot of people will tell you not to take pictures. I've taken hundreds. if not thousands of pictures of him. And I've had no bad luck happen like that. So David Sloan himself will tell you you're not supposed to ask permission to take his picture because that's giving power over you. And you don't want to give a spirit power over you because it's just common sense. You don't want, if a spirit has bad intentions and has power over you, what do you think is going to happen? But I think everyone should just do their own research, go have fun. I mean, it can definitely be a fun time, and let me know about it. I'm interested to hear. Like I said, I'm interested in everything spooky. So, uh, I'll cut it there, and we'll talk about some other things on the future day. Again, I would love if you would give me a follow. Go see me on my social media. Send me a message if you've been to Robert. Please send me a message. I want to hear your story. I mean it. I'll even make an episode about it if you want me to. Yeah, so go follow. It helps me out. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the support I've had so far. It's been great, and I will try to get some more episodes out there. In the meantime, I'll take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.